Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's session of Unplugged with Ross. My name is Roslyn Miner, and tonight we will be talking about employee relations, the art and science of workplace harmony. Tonight I'm joined by our panelist, Osiambo Ooko, also known as Double O. He is the current chairman at the College of Human Resource Management, and he also acts at Safaricom at the Center of Excellence Lead, Employee and Labor Relations. Double O has more than 25 years experience in the HR profession, having worked across an array of industries from manufacturing to oil and gas, aviation, hospitality, banking, tech. And tonight he is our panelist for the day who will take us through the topic, which is employee relations, the art and science of workplace harmony. As is the norm, I will start with sharing some statistics before I hand over to Double O to take us through this very informative topic. So, the first insight is in a recent survey by ICX Kenya, the Employee Net Promoter Score, ENPS, is 23%, showing weak employee loyalty and connection to the workplace. About 80 to 81% of Kenyan workers are disengaged or dissatisfied, meaning they are actively seeking new opportunities or not emotionally invested in their current jobs. From a global perspective, 59% of workers are disengaged, costing organizations billions in lost productivity. Disengagement reduces connection, loyalty, which undermines workplace harmony. Last but not least, according to an SHRM report, 83% of people who rate their workplace culture as good or excellent say they are motivated to produce high quality work. Only 45% of those in poor cultures say the same. Culture is a strong driver of both motivation and harmony. Karibu sana Double O, and please do take us through this very insightful topic.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, no matter where you are logging in from. Thank you for having me or to discuss this topic, employee relations and workplace harmony. It's going to be a discussion. There are no PowerPoints. At any time, if you feel you want to interrupt me, please interrupt me and ask a question. Put a question on the chat, I will answer it. So that is an engagement. It's a discussion and engagement so that we don't to focus on PowerPoint or anything that I'm going to be projecting. I like starting with a few definitions: employee relations, labor relations, industrial relations. So, what is employee relations? What is labor relations, industrial relations? So, employee relations refers to the relations between employee and employee in the organization. It is internal looking. So, employee and employee, they have that relation with the organization. And if it's harmonious, then work continues, there's productivity, there's a good workplace, and there is retention. So employees, all the people in the organization, no matter the title, manager, director, cleaner, sweeper, they're all employees and they must have a harmonious relationship. Labor relations then refers to external. The employer now, as Safaricom, with external parties, FKE, trade unions, Ministry of Labor, the Labor Court, external looking. So employee relations internal looking, labor relations external looking. But then what is industrial relations? This is the old name. The industrial relations then refers to those relations between management, industry, trade unions, and government. And then you typically draw a triangle. On top there, you put government. On this side, you put employer. This side, you put trade unions. That is industrial relations. Complete. Just a triangle. On top, government, employers, employees represented by COTU or trade unions. That is industrial relations. Then we ask ourselves another question: what is employee relations both an art and science, or is it only art and science? My take is that it's both an art and a science. Science because it involves data analytics. You analyze data, the trending of number of disciplinary cases, number of grievances, a number of capability, performance issues for his organization, number of strikes, number of work stoppages, number of cases in the employment court. Then there's the data analytics there. It's a science because of legal compliance. It is a science because when you speak of employee relations, speak of strategic HR management framework. That is where now you strategically recruit, select and recruit. You manage performance, you manage promotions, you manage exits. That's strategic HR management. So employee relations is both a science and an art. The science part, data analysis, legal compliance with both the labor laws, the constitution, and the policy of organization. Now, in my view, legal compliance then is the license to do business, both the social and legal licenses. Because if you don't comply legally, then that business has no place in this world. So legal compliance, that's the science of both social and legal licenses. Then strategic HR framework. Now, when you look at it being an art, it's about the human being, humanizing the workplace so that the workplace is not about titles. It's like you can call your CEO, just call him James. You don't have to call him sir or madam. And you can call somebody at work double O or IK, so that the workplace is humanized. It's not about titles. It's because you humanize the title. What are you then? That is the art part of the employee relations. It's about human elements, about emotional intelligence to foster positive relations. It's about communication for deep understanding. You spoke about communication. Poor communication causes disengagement. That's the part of that of employee relations. So the yes sir, yes madam. Use surnames, preferably make the employment easy. Make the workplace open plan offices instead of people closing themselves in offices. It's an art because the employee is about human connection. And that is what makes work go round. It's about interpersonal skills. It's about mediation and all the things that you want to do. It's about relationships, okay? Science and an art. If I go back to the art part, data analysis is about understanding employee needs and effectiveness of HR policies. It's about legal and policy compliance. It's about to protect employee rights and responsibilities. Okay, that is why it is called both an art and a science. So employee relations, in my view, is both an art and a science. Now, then we need to ask our question: why employee relations? And I like the book by Simon Sinek. Start with the why. So we can say, why is employee relations important organization? Please write this down and buy this book if you can. By Simon Sinek, start with the why. And from what Rosaline has just spoken about, it's about productivity. It's about employee engagement. It's about people staying in organization and you reducing the labor turnover. People are not actively using your systems, your computers, your everything to actively look for jobs. The statistic that she has just given. It's about profitability. That is why employee relations is important. It's about attraction and retention. I remember some few years ago, there was one of the major media houses that used to advertise for a human resource manager position. And you'd gather around and say, Have you seen that advertisement? Don't apply unless you're desperate. Because you know very well within a year or 1 year and a half, the same position is going to be advertised again. And there's a very high turnover for that position. So you'll not be able to attract if you have bad employee relations. People will be seeing the advert, then you see re-advertisement. And then you see re-advertisement. And then you cannot attract good people to work in organization for productivity and profitability. And once you attract and you have good employee relations, the art and the science of employee relations, then you have retention. Then you have a good workers who can actually refer people. When you're doing your employee opinion survey, there's a question that is asked there. Would you refer somebody to this organization? And if the answer no, then you know you're in trouble. You not get employee referrals and all those things that are good for your organization. And then employee relations, why is it important? It's about extreme ownership. An extreme owner, you should read this book by one of the American, they're called Marines, not Marines. The others that are more than Marines. Give me the name.
So we have
I'll
the
get I'll get you the name. There's one Marine who wrote a book about extreme ownership. The Marines, they fight so close to each other.
Navy
And
SEALs.
the Navy SEALs, yes. They're the SEALs, even not Navy, they're just the SEALs. They are extreme owners. So if you have good employee relations, you have people who are extreme owners of the organization. They will carry your name far and wide. And they will be able to speak about the purpose of the business. In this, think about the person who, when JF Kennedy said, "You want to put a person on the moon." Then he went to NASA and he met a person who was sweeping. And he said, he asked that person, "What are you doing here?" The person said, "We are putting a person on the moon. That is my mission. That's the purpose. I'm putting a person on the moon." Do your people work in organizations know even your purpose is organization? You know the mission and the vision. Can they speak the same way and say, "My purpose here," and they align to the purpose of organization? If you have good employee relations, then you say, actually you're speaking and say, "We are putting a person on the moon." That's why employee relations is important. Then he spoke about ENPS. ENPS is internal looking. If the ENPS is good, the NPS outside will also be good looking. So that's why employee relations is good. It's both. Is the employee ENPS and the customer NPS.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll find that it doesn't work for you. I'll just give an example. If you ask me what I do in Safaricom, I transform lives. That's the purpose. Financial inclusion, and I transform lives. I don't sell credit. I don't sell phones. I transform lives. I'm very clear about that. And that's the purpose of the organization. So the purpose is putting a person on the moon, or the ambo is transforming lives. Excuse me. I have a cold, eh?
That's
Excuse me.
right.
The other thing that if you have good employee relations, then people are with something called customer obsession. Everybody becomes the person to deal with the customer. So when you call me today and you have an issue, I will take that issue. I will find the person to solve it for you. I will not refer you to customer service. I'll not refer you to anybody. I'll take it as my issue. So the why of employee relations is then clearly answered. Why employee relations? And please, I read that book by Simon Sinek. And when you start doing something, ask yourself, why am I doing this thing? So we've spoken about employee relations, labor relations, industrial relations in terms of definition. And we have defined them clearly. And even if you see now, the labor court is actually used to be called industrial court, is now called employee and labor relations court. And then you have gone to say, is it an art or a science? And you have said both of them applies, both an art and a science. Why a science? Because it deals with the data, legal compliance, strategic HR framework. Why an art? Because it deals with the human element, humanized management, it deals with emotional intelligence. That's why it's an art. So if we move on, you want to speak about employee relations in terms of the role of the line manager.
We have a question here on the
Yes.
chat
Mm.
from a non HR person. I think she
Mhm.
meant, what does NPS mean?
Net promoter score. So it's typically you ask 5 questions. The customer, would you recommend our services to any other customer? So the customers score you and give you a score. If you have an NPS that is low, it means your customer never refer you to anybody else. The inward, as an E, is an employee net promoter score. The employees in your organization, would they refer people to work for you? If they wanted to refer people to work for you. So when you speak about employees, one of the role of the line managers is about employee rights and responsibilities. If there's a HR person here, let's speak about employee rights first of all, because that is the key of employee relations, employee rights. So if there's a HR person here, what are some of the rights of the employee and the employees in the organization? Uh, or Rosalind can answer some of them if you can help with that.
So when it comes to, employee rights, one of the rights that they have is they have the right to have a clear understanding of what their role is, a clear understanding of what their responsibilities are, what their
Mhm.
deliverables are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They have a right to a safe working environment.
Yes.
Sorry, not NVS, NPS. N for Nigeria, P for Poland, S for Syria.
Real.
NPS. Net
Okay.
Promoter Score.
Motor score. Brilliant.
Yes, not envious. Sorry, my pronunciation around allow me to just correct that. So when you speak of the role of the line manager, one of the roles of a line manager is to uphold the employee rights to a free place, free of sexual harassment or bullying, right to a safe workplace, right to be paid for their job, right to get a job description, and right to be heard if there's any issue. Okay? Then you have to balance rights and responsibilities. On this side, there are rights of the employee, then there are responsibilities to perform their duties faithfully. Okay, not to be in issues of fraud or sexual harassment or bullying. Hmm? To perform their duties in the correct manner, no negligence of duties, to perform their objectives as is required, to report to work when required to report to work. So they have rights and responsibilities. The line manager has to balance both rights and responsibilities. Because if they don't balance, then it becomes an unfair place. Either it's twisted to this side, the employer is suffering, or the employee is suffering. But the line manager has to make sure that nobody suffers, the employer or the employee. So the employee has rights; those rights have to be upheld. The employer's responsibilities that they must fulfill, that must balance. Then on the other side, the line manager must also balance the employer responsibilities and employer rights. Let's talk about employer rights first of all. The employer has a right to expect performance because he's paying for performance. The employer has a right to expect that you will give faithful service. You will not commit acts of fraud. The employer has a right to expect that you will not harass people in the workplace. You will follow the policy of the organization, that you will work faithfully without negligence. But the employer has a responsibility to pay you salary. They must pay you for your services. They must create a harmonious workplace. They must pay for your medical. They must give you training. They cannot expect you to work without giving you training. So that if you are given a lathe machine to operate, or a car, or this laptop to operate, and you have not been trained, then the employer is failing. So the line manager balances the employee and the employer as a role in employee relations. They must balance. So the employee has their rights and responsibility, rights and management, and then there's that scale has to balance. Otherwise, if you tip it on one side, then the employees start feeling, this line manager is against us. It's only for the employer. Then you find that they will not give you discretionary effort. They will not perform well. Or the employer now feels this line manager is too lenient. This one is going to cause me a problem because they are not upholding my rights. They are not supervising my work properly. People are stealing. There is fraud and there's doing nothing. So that's the first duty of a line manager. Uphold both employer and employee and have a balance. The second responsibility then for the line manager is what you spoke about when you started, is coaching. You coach employees to perform their duties well, so that when they come to work, they are happy that I will start working even though I don't know, somebody is going to assist me. So use a coaching approach. This issue of telling does not work, especially now with the new Gen Zote that is going on. Gen Zote. You don't need to keep beating them so much. This telling approach does not work. Coach, mentor, hmm, teach, so that then the workplace is harmonious. Otherwise, you'll keep chasing people, you keep terminating, and nothing happens. So that's the responsibility of a line manager. The third one I'm going to speak about is about conflict resolution. There must be a way that conflict is resolved within that particular organization. And line managers must take the case of doing mediation, having difficult conversations, and being people can bring people together and bring harmony in the workplace. Otherwise, then you have what you're speaking about. People are not engaged, people are looking for jobs, people who are simply there passing time. So the issue of conflict resolution must be there. They must have those conversations and they must be without discrimination. So the line managers must uphold policies and they have no discrimination. Now, the other most important thing is about trust. If you read Stephen Covey's book, The Speed of Trust, he has actually outlined clearly there that a workplace that has no trust will not succeed. Where people come and they feel that you're not being trusted, you're not being given things in a correct manner, it will not happen. It will not be in a very nice place. So Stephen Covey speaks about the speed of trust, and this is what Stephen Covey says, that if the employee or the worker working for you feels that they trust you, they'll give discretionary effort. And what does he mean by that trust? It simply means that that employee feels that you have their best interest at heart. That in the heart of this manager, in the heart of this employer, they have my best interests. Whatever they do, they are doing it for my best interests. And they feel as if there are no hidden cards. There's no discrimination. There are no hidden conversations. Performance is easily defined. There is clear communication so that they feel that you have my best interest at heart. A good analogy is the way people trust their mothers. Everybody trusts their mothers because you spent 9 months here, 3 years here, and everything else. So there's that interest that everybody knows my mother has my best interest at heart, and nobody feels that their mother is somebody is going to do something that not in their best interest. That line manager
Sorry about that. I think we have a slight connectivity issue on the part of Double O, but he will be joining us soon. Just a recap on what he was discussing. The need to employee rights and responsibilities, and the same also applies for the employer rights and responsibilities.
should be making. Is the connection still there?
Yes, welcome back. Sorry, we lost you at
Yes.
the analogy for people having a positive regards towards their mother because they believe that they have their best interest at heart. Please proceed.
Yes. So from there, what I'm saying is that you build the way you build trust in an organization is that the people who are reporting to should know that my manager has my best interest at heart. They will not do anything that is going to mess me. In case I face any problem, I can talk to my manager. I can open up and talk to my manager because they have my best interest at heart. The same way everybody in this world knows that their mother has their best interest at heart because you spend 9 months here, 3 years here. When I was working for the airline, we were being taught about how they deal with terrorists. And the question that most terrorists are asked is a very funny question. So you asked, so you're holding you're holding people as at ransom. The staff was like, what would your mother think? And that question makes the terrorists think. Say, what would your mother think? If you called your mother now and you told your mother what you're doing, what would your mother think? Everybody pauses and says, oh, my mother would know I'm doing something wrong. So what would your manager think? Does your manager have the best interest at heart for you? Then I was talking about checking in meetings. When you start meetings, do not dive straight on the agenda. There's a cadence that we have. We really want to check in and know how you're feeling, Rosalie. So how are you today? Body, mind, soul, and heart. So you say, I'm feeling well. My family is okay. I walked 10 kilometers over the weekend. I'm reading a book now called The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. And I go to church. You actually really check in. You check in as a person. and we go around the room and you get to know people. And you get to know people and how they are really feeling. Don't how you feeling fine. So that then somebody feels these people are in the meeting here. Every week when we meet, they actually care about me. You feel part of that organization. And then you feel that you're really going to get committed. Then there are things like bring your child to work. You bring your child to work to know where they are living. There's a I used to work for. We actually used to bring the whole family to work. We spent a whole is dedicate a whole. It's a big factory I used to work in. A whole Saturday we bus them in. We put food onto the field and we bus them in the factory to see what you actually do. Say, oh, this is actually where you work, and we used to do that every year. So you build that as an employee. Then the other thing about line managers is to lead, not to manage. There's a difference. You manage things, you lead people. And for this, I would want you to pick any book by John Maxwell about leadership, and it's going to assist you in your leadership journey. Okay. Uh, Lastly, I want to speak about resolving grievances, mediation, enforcing policies, non-discrimination. That is the role of a line manager then in employee relations. And that concludes my section on employee relations. So what you have done so far, and to go back again, I like doing that. We have defined employee relations, labor relations, industrial relations. We have said it's both an art and a science. We have said why do you need employee relations? Workplace harmony, productivity, profitability, attraction, engagement, ENPS internal, NPS external. We have said that the role of a line manager is upholding policies, balance the rights of the employer and the employer, capacity building, conflict resolution, building trust, leading not managing, and then creating a harmonious work environment. So we've gone back a little bit just to summarize what we have done so far.
Yeah.
I want to move on to the challenges that we see in employee relations. I'd like to speak of the first one, and I want to say, please, this is a challenge that you have to adopt and learn. When you speak of Gen Zote, Gen Z, and we speak as if these people are not our children, they are not our brothers, they're not our sisters. So you're going to face a generational problem at workplace. Now there are about 3 or 4 generations in the workplace. Okay, and Gen Alpha is coming, and before
Yeah.
after Gen Alpha, there's another one. So you'll
Peter.
find that they are going to be a 3 or 4 generation in our workplace. So as line managers, as employee relational practitioners, we have to adopt. We can't keep condemning. We have to adopt our ways of working. We have to adopt our policies. We have to stop complaining. We have to listen without judgment. And then we have to benchmark. If it is working from home, they can work from home. Technology is there. COVID-19 proved that people can work from anywhere. If it is working without a tie and a coat, they can work without that. What you need is productivity. So we must change our mindset. Please read the book by Dr. Dweck about fixed mindset. So when we talk about Gen Z, we must adopt to that problem that we say is a problem. It's a challenge. With technology these days, the things that took you and me, if you're my age mate, 8 hours to do, this Gen Z can do it in 3 hours with technology. He can actually compile that report for you in 3 hours. So you don't have to keep him in the office for 8 hours. He will not understand that. So we must adopt our practices, our policies, our benchmark, everything, so that this is no longer a challenge. It is something that you're happy to have in the workplace. The other challenge that I'll speak about is the challenge of changes in legislation. Before legislation, I think the work environment is moving so fast that legislation is not catching up. With the thing of AI and technology, there is not enough legislation to in the workplace. But whatever is there currently, then you must comply. Then you must keep up as a practitioner. You must have groups that you talk to, professional groups. You must speak to advocates. You must speak Federation of Kenya Employers. You must speak to trade union people so that you can keep up. And you must do a lot of reading. So you must keep up. So that those policies that you have now do not look archaic. And they cannot accommodate all those generations in the workplace. Remember, in the workplace now, some generations do not want pension. It's not important to them. Okay. Some generations don't want to get married. So that maternity cover is not important to them. Some generations do not want all those big things you're giving. They just want to come to work, earn a living, and go. So you must adopt your policies to what is currently there. Otherwise, those policies are not going to help you. You must keep current with the current policies, with the current legislation, but also you must adopt to the current realities that we face in the workplace. Most of us, when we started working, I'm in that group where I said pension is important. A house is important, so you have learned to be mobile. So today is working in Kenya, tomorrow is in Ethiopia, next time is in South Africa. So tell him, oh, you get a mortgage, you'll pay a house for 20 years, it will not work. So adopt your policies accordingly, but also be within the law. Now, once you have our policies, the challenge there is communicating those policies clearly. Because if you do not communicate, then they are not policies that you can use. You must communicate, via any channel that you can, communicate via multiple channels so that it's understood and it becomes part of the workplace. The challenge that you have with not communicating policies, and I was in court recently, is that and in the labor law and the labor court, ignorance of policies is a defense. Let me repeat again. In the labor court, ignorance of policies is a defense. So there was this case of a driver because it's a public document in Kenya Revenue Authority, and that was terminated because the company vehicle was stolen. And the manager was saying that you're supposed to park this vehicle in a police station. Whenever you are going, if you are going to a place, you're going to Nakuru, you look for the nearest police station, you park the vehicle there, then you go and get your accommodation where you're going to sleep over, and in the morning pick the vehicle from the police station. The employee was called and asked by the judge, how long have you worked in KRA? He says, I've been there for 30 years. Do you know of that policy of parking vehicles at the police station? He says, my lord, I've never heard of such a policy. I've never heard of such a. Then the manager has asked, where is the policy? He says it is in the office, it is not here. And then they lost the case. So you must communicate policies. You must make sure employees understand policies. So it's a simple thing. It's about legal compliance, it's about communication, it's about communication that is clear. Multiple channels. WhatsApp. We get some policies on SMS. You communicate via a webinar like this one. You communicate on the screensaver. When you open your laptop, the screensaver communicates a policy that you are communicating again multiple channels. The other big challenge that we face is that sometimes line managers lack capacity to manage staff. So that then you have to build line managers' capacity to manage staff. For this one, I think of a toolbox. When you go to your mechanic to repair your car, they have a toolbox. And that toolbox has different tools. So a line manager has to have different tools to manage the staff. So the module, I call it line manager toolkit. So it's a toolkit for line managers. So that the line manager, they keep keeping tools and putting in their box. So that when they open their box, they have a tool to handle performance, a tool to handle grievance, a tool to handle discipline, a tool to handle technology, so that tool is then fit for purpose. And if they don't have the tool, they keep putting it back into the tool. So it's you should ask yourself, my line managers work for me. Is their toolkit complete? So if you went to your mechanic to repair your car, and they don't have spanner number 10, for example, to open your wheel, then they will be telling you, just wait, I'm going to borrow. And their toolkit is not complete. So the work is not going to be done. It's the same thing in the workplace. The line manager must have a toolkit that is complete. that is fit for purpose, that they can do their work. Okay, and not only line managers, even the employees, they must have a toolkit that is complete to do their work. Now, when you do about this, some organizations have what we call shop stewards and trade unions. They're still there. They also must have a toolkit. So when you attend training as a line manager, you can carry your shop steward along with you, your trade union official, so that they also have the same toolkit. That toolkit they can use in the organization for the benefit of the organization, for productivity, for performance, profitability, for retention, for attraction, all those things I spoke about. Okay, so that it's done properly. Spoke about Gen Zote. Now, there's a statistic that I read recently about the Employment Labor Relations Court. The things that takes employers there is not following their own processes. So about 70% of the cases that the industrial court, the labor court in Kenya, they're about people who have lost cases. They did not follow their process, especially disciplinary or performance processes. So that it's called unfair termination, 70% of those cases. So also the line managers and the employees must also be able to follow process. You must be a fair person in that organization. You must also be able to do things in a fair manner that follows all the processes. The last challenge that I'm looking for is the challenge that is facing organizations that do not have trade unions. So you cannot actually form what you call a staff council. If you don't have a trade union, it does not mean that you cannot speak to employees. So you form a staff council in this basis. Every department, every division will choose one person. Okay? They have their elections, they choose a person. Then you have your staff council constitution. And then you have the workers among themselves. It's not a trade union thing. They choose a spokesperson and a secretary. Then their meetings are funded by the organization. If you are operating all over Kenya, then they can do territorial meetings. They can have a meeting for Rift Valley with the regional lead, a meeting for Mombasa with the regional lead, and for Nairobi. But if so, based on the same organization, then they can have meetings in this manner. Every 3 months, they can meet the head of HR and discuss workers' issues as a staff council. And every 3 months, where possible, and every 4 months, they should meet the CEO and speak to the CEO directly, then have that connection, you have that harmonious employee relations. So there's no trade union, there's still a possibility. Because of the trade union, then you are forced by the law, they are forced by the CBA and the recognition agreement. Then you have a joint industrial council. But where there is no trade union, then you have a staff council that you form as management, that you give them mandate to speak to the head of HR, whatever title they have, every 3 months, and meet the CEO at least 3 times in a year, and have that direct connection and that direct employee relationship connection that makes the workplace harmonious. Okay. So some
Quick question.
suggestions. Yes.
Someone will ask in some places where, here is a suggestion for staff council, and some
Mm.
companies have, employee welfare committees. They will ask, what is the difference between the two?
It might be the same thing, but this is not welfare only. This is also the issues that have been unresolved on the floor.
Yeah.
Or they percolate there, the issues of dissatisfaction, grievances being raised and not being addressed, issues of policies not being followed, issue of favoritism that must percolate now to the CEO. The other way that you can do it, we have seen organization we having emails that to the internal emails, Semana CEO, talk to the CEO, but you let those emails to the CEO directly, or the box that goes to the CEO directly, so that the CEO is able to see some things that raw directly, and the CEO is able to guide the organization in terms of people, so that there is an email that goes directly to the CEO. The CEO holds webinars every so often with the staff directly. like this one that we are doing, and they can ask him questions directly. The CEO meets the staff council and the head of HR, whatever title you call him, and that it feels as if you are being listened to. Somebody actually listens to us. Otherwise, they feel as if nobody listens to them. So so
So
so
now,
so 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 that's some of the suggestions now of having harmonious industrial relations.
which is fantastic. Now, what happens to HR professionals who will feel that this staff council is either reflecting them in bad light, or the HR professional is the one that is the stopgap to good harmony within the organization? How can you challenge that?
You change your ship out. You change your ship out. Because you actually affect the relation in the way you're not supposed to. You change yourself as a HR person when you ship out. Remember, getting feedback is feed forward. Somebody says feedback is a breakfast of champions.
True.
It's now the lunch and even the dinner. Okay, so that when you
Yeah.
get feedback, you improve. You should not be a person who feels as if you know it all. You are the lord of everything. So as a HR professional, you must be able to get feedback, and you must be able to have the pulse of the organization, what is happening. Remember, you are there for productivity and profitability. You are there to make sure you attract the correct people in the organization and put the correct people in the correct boxes. You are there to make sure that the business continues to be a viable business in the near future, the way accountants speak. You are there to make sure that you can get referrals. You are there to make sure that customers are satisfied. NPS, not NVS. And then the employees ENPS. E for England, N for Nigeria, P for Poland, S for Syria. So a few suggestions. I gave that suggestion about harmonious relationship. A few suggestions.
Yeah.
Let's think about an employee listening policy. Listening in terms of listening without judgment and listening deeply. Now, listening can be by the emails that somebody can send the CEO directly. It can be by the surveys that you do. There is the monkey surveys. There's annual opinion surveys. The team meetings that you do. You listen to employees. The staff council, the joint industry, the multiple channels, and be very deliberate that we have a listening policy. We listen to our employees and without judgment. And when you listen, and then you give feedback and you give feed forward. So that something that was said is not said over and over again and people lose hope. So employee listening policy is important. Hmm? And the other thing that will make harmonious relations and environment is benchmarking. So benchmark policies. Today, I was reading something here about benchmarking. I'll open it. I'll find it. I'll just open it and I'll talk to her about it. But benchmarking is about policies, benchmarking salaries, so that you are not left behind as an organization. Uh, I was benchmarking some organizations, and I had this in a seminar that you can actually donate leave. Both me and you, Rosalind, work in the same organization. You have exhausted your leave because you had an issue. Your father died, something happened, you are sick. Leave is exhausted, and I have 30 days leave. I can actually donate half of my leave to you to go and leave. Okay. So
Yeah.
employees can donate up to a certain portion of their leave to others to go and leave. If I have 10 days and you have none, I can donate 2 days. Next person 2 days, next person 2 days, then you have 6 days of leave. Okay. So that is something that I found interesting in some organizations. And I've never seen it that you can donate leave. And I found it very interesting. Oh, you can actually donate leave. Then I saw maternity leave, some organization 6 months. So in law, 3 months. In that organization, 6 months. Paternity leave in law, 14 days. In that
Days.
organization, paternity leave 1 month. Those are the things that will keep people there. You benchmark and you make that it should look good. As a HR person, that's what people do. Then training without bonding. I was discussing in this in a seminar on Friday, I think 2 Fridays ago, in a seminar at Pan Africa Hotel. And a HR person raised an issue. Oh, training is expensive. When we train and then they leave, we must bond them. So that they pay, or you don't train them. I say, hey, why don't you train them without bonding? And I act in the oil industry, I act in the refinery in Mombasa. Unfortunately, now it's not working properly. We could be trained in anything. They'll pay for your masters, they pay for your degree, they pay for your diploma, they'll train you abroad, and there was no bonding. People did not leave. There was no
Because
bonding.
of
Nobody
trust.
left because the environment is so good that you don't feel like leaving. So make the environment so good that when you train me, I don't feel like bolting out. I'll come and work for you willingly and give discretionary effort because you are treating me so fine. When you train me, you use 2 minutes to train me. Don't think I'm going to bolt the next day. I'm just simply going to continue working for you because the environment is so pure. So training without bonding, this thing that I must bond you, I must make sure that you pay. And then when you train me, I will actually simply walk away. And you can go to
I,
the civil court and then get a civil debt to for me. Yes, yes, Roslyn.
I think, you've put it so rightly. I think we have a huge misconception about the value of training, where instead of seeing it as an engagement pillar, instead of seeing it as an avenue to which you are improving the skill set for your employees to enable them to perform their job even better, I think we, that aspect of bonding, we just look at the investment part of it and not review the impact that once you're trained, the absolute value is you that is enjoying it over and above the zeros that have been spent.
It goes back to the policies that put in which policies just don't go. You have trained this, but each other person you're failing. As a manager, as a leader, say this bond people, make it so nice, so good that when you train me, I will not leave. I will actually work for you for the next 10 years. In that organization, will pay for your diploma, your degree, your master's degree. And there was no bonding. Nobody will say, you are paying for your master's, now you're going to bond you. No. And the people continued working. We'll pay for your degree, we'll bond you. No. We'll pay for your certification, we'll bond you. There was no bonding. And people continued working. So this is of saying that, oh, we are benchmarking, we are bonding you. No, no, no. Please put policies that are progressive. That when somebody joins the organization, they join willingly and they are happy to work for you. That is harmonious work environment. I spoke about capacity building. It is still one of those things that you must do. The other harmonious thing is that you must also be somebody with their times, automation, AI. You can be sending payslips on this gadget here. Policies are here, payslips are here, anything is here on the go. Hmm? And you can even have your email here. You can actually answer your emails and do your work in this one gadget. You don't have to be in the office all the time. You make sure that work is made easier. It's not that you must come at 8 o'clock. I can report at 9, but I started working at 7 in my house. I've done a few things, I've attended a few meetings, and I'm coming to the office at 10. So that you look at productivity, not time, productivity, and output, not time. So use technology to create a harmonious work environment. Hmm? The other thing that people speak about employee well-being. Employee well-being. I was watching a video yesterday on TV. And they are saying that employee well-being is not about only health and medical. There's a social component, a social well-being. If you are just alone in the house and you don't socialize outside with your colleagues and everybody else, that's also an element of employee well-being. Of course, there's a health side, a good medical scheme that is good, uh, rehabilitation for mental health, alcohol, and so abuse, financial management training, sports days, but the social part must not be forgotten. Make the office a sociable place. I know of companies, I think Stanbic does it. They have social Fridays where you can have a drink and then you can go home. Okay, you don't overdo it, but you can
Yeah.
have a drink in the office and then go home. So that the social well-being is employee well-being, it's employee wellness, but it's also social well-being that makes the employee also feel part of what they are doing. My last point, and I wrote it and I didn't know I was going to get something today, is about pay transparency and about transparency totally in the workplace. So
Yeah.
that if you are not being going to be a transparent person, that's going to affect you. So the other jurisdictions, they have what they call pay transparency. That if you're going to get apply for a job, I will not ask you what you are getting currently. I will show you my range of salary and I'll put you in that range. My minimum, my midpoint, and my maximum. This is my range. So depending on your qualification and experience, I'll put you within this range.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was reading something for Bowman's Law Firm with South Africa. There's a proposed fair bill that seeks to champion a reformed way of recruiting and retaining employees in South Africa. It aims to stop applicants from being forced to share their pay history and requires companies to disclose salary ranges when recruiting. So pay transparency is coming. In other jurisdictions, Europe and all this there, now it's in South Africa now, it's coming. So Kenyans, be prepared for pay transparency.
I
Be
think we
prepared
need it.
to recruit.
I think we need it because it turns. I mean, when you don't have pay transparency, it's more
Mm,
like arm twisting. Unlike you trying to sell your EVP as an employer, you are
mm,
there trying to gauge: do I really need to pay according to the budget, or can I undercut? Which
mm,
does not help with creating, positive workplaces.
mm, mm. So there's a slide remaining in my head that I need to speak about, and I need just to summarize what I've discussed today. So we started by defining employee relations, labor relations, and industry relations. Then we asked ourselves, is this art or science? And we said it is both. Science because we deal with analytics, art because we have to humanize management. We are dealing with human beings. Then we asked ourselves, what are some of the issues that we'll face, challenges that we'll face in the workplace? Spoke about legislation, spoke about line managers' capacity and say the toolkit that you need to have as a line manager. The same way your mechanic has a toolkit, so that toolkit then you can put the correct tools inside. Spoke about Gen Zote, Gen Z, we said stop complaining. Stop complaining is the reality. There are four generations in the workplace. You must work with them. You must put policies that speak to all of them so that you can retain all the generations. And more are coming. We spoke about compliance with the policies and spoke about the cases in labor court. 70% of them is about non-compliance. Then we spoke about the challenges. And we said some of those challenges can be overcome by employee listening policy, benchmarking, automation, employee well-being, plus the social well-being. Then we spoke about pay transparency. And we say the proposed Fair Bill Act in South Africa. The focus of the Fair Pay Bill, is to on fostering a culture of job grading and pay structure that ensures standardized remuneration, which has potential of minimizing unfair labor practices. So I know we bought a lot from South Africa. It's coming. My last slide, I can see we are nearly at 8 o'clock, is to speak to you as a person,
Yeah.
not about employee relations, not about anything else, you as a person. So I'm going to say several things about you as a person. I want you to take care of yourself. We do a lot of things and we forget ourselves. So take care of your physical health. Do some exercise. Take care of your mind. Read at least one book a month. If possible, read one book a week. Read a blog. Watch Simon Sinek. Watch TED Talks. Prepare your mind. Take care of your soul. Go to church. Go to mosque. Go to temple. Wherever you go, take care of your soul. For your own sake, get yourself a coach or a mentor for your own development. Get a life coach so that you're able to do your life properly. Socialize, participate in social events wherever you live, in that estate where you live, in that participate in CSR events, get to know your neighbors, participate with your people. Lastly, have a heart of gratitude. Practice gratitude. Give yourself a very big dose of vitamin G. Then
Yes.
you are going to live a very good life. There's some books that I've read this year that I think you should read. The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. If you can get that book as a manager, it will help you. My current read now, this one here,
Ego.
Ego is the Enemy
Ego is the enemy.
by Ryan Holiday. If you can get it, it will teach you a lot of things. I think I'm still learning. The book I've read that I've really I liked is Four Disciplines of Execution, 4 Ds of Execution by Sin Covey, Chris, and Jim. There are three authors. Another book that I would really recommend highly is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. There's another one, I forget the author, it's called Influence is Your Superpower. And lastly, Mindset by Dr. Dweck. So please get some of this book and read. And if you want to read very good management books, get books of what is his name? John Maxwell.
Yeah.
It's 8 o'clock. My time is over. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Double O. This has been very, very insightful. And the fact that, breaking down employee relations into very simple, understandable manner. Because most of the time, employee relations is deemed to be, disciplinary. It seems to be you're just dealing with issues in the workplace. Unlike building workplace harmony. So this is very enlightening. And the recommendations that you have made for books to read, they actually strike a chord, because not only will they have an impact on an individual's mindset, but also it will be a direct impact with how you relate with people, not only on a personal level, but also on a workplace perspective. So thank you so much for that. There's this uh, item you mentioned, extreme ownership. Is that a book?
It's a book
That
actually written by one of the Navy SEALs. If you find it, it's written by a Navy SEAL, actually written by a Briton. I had the
yeah.
opportunity of meeting him when we are doing our mission Cascade. Is called Extreme Ownership. It's actually a book if you can find it at Textbook Center. Interesting book to read.
Fantastic. And there's one you mentioned, mindset is, I think
My
the last.
Mindset, just Mindset by Dr. Dweck.
Okay,
Mindset by Dr. Dweck. Mm,
brilliant.
mm.
I think these are very, you know, books that can actually challenge one not only from a mindset perspective but also relational perspective with how we interact or integrate with other people. I thank you so much for breaking our topic of the night down for us in a very relatable manner. Thank you to all those that have joined us via YouTube, and there are those that will be joining us via LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Any parting shot from you, Double O?
My parting shot was that I said, please take care of yourself. It's
Brilliant.
important that whatever you do, you take care of yourself, of your mind, of your body, of your soul, of your socials, and have a heart of gratitude. Give yourself a big dose of vitamin G, then you're going to be
Gee,
okay. Mm.
brilliant. Thank you so much, Double O. Thank you to everyone that joined. Wishing you all a lovely evening, and I will see you on the next session of Unplugged with Ross. Have a
Thank
lovely
you for
evening.
having me. A
All
good
right.
evening.
Thank you.